welcome back to this week's Mortgage Talk with Scott Hill. Scott,
hey.
We have much better connection today, don't we?
Good bandwidth today. Good bandwidth, man. I don't sound like, what was that character in Peanuts?
Ron.
Yeah,
the teachers. Wah, 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 wah.
Yeah, pretty much what I was.
Yeah, you know, it is what it is, right? So welcome
I love your inspiring flag in the back, by the way, though.
Oh, yeah.
4th of July coming up, and the colors are just, that's awesome, man. I love it.
Yeah, I just wish I could figure out how to get rid of this fuzzy background. I just, 100 different things to do, and that's at the bottom of my priority list.
Well, you just want yourself to stand out in such clarity, and that's what's happening.
That's right. So if anybody's listening and you hear pounding in the background, I have people actually working on my house today. And they're doing or fixing up a bathroom, and they're just demoing some tile and stuff. So I apologize ahead of time for the dust and noise. Not that you're going to see the dust, but you're going to hear some noise for sure.
May I apologize if the Amazon guy comes to the guy or gal comes to the door and my dogs go nuts? I'm working from home today as well. So.
Absolutely. My dogs do the same thing. It's so cool.
They can hear the truck like down the street. I can tell when they're coming for a delivery, man. It's crazy.
Yeah. So, hey, did you have a good weekend?
Yeah, I did. It was, Saturday I was traveling back. I was in Florida with my son. Right. And then yesterday, just kind of trying to get back from the time change that always happens when you come from the East Coast. It wasn't too bad this time though, because I kept my time while I was there.
Right.
Like I'd stay up till 2 a.m., and I'd wake up at 9 in the morning, something like that, so that when I got back home, it would be normal. And it worked out perfectly this time. I don't really feel much of the jet lag that I thought I might and all that. And yesterday I kind of watched a little bit of golf. Sundays in golf, or kind of enjoy that when I get a chance to relax and take that in. Mindless entertainment.
Exactly. It's like me watching TikTok while I'm watching TV.
Yeah.
I'm going through all the James Bond series now. And I've watched them 100 times, so I don't have to watch it. I just focus on TikTok, or I play a game, or just to relax a little bit. This Saturday I took my girls, my wife, to Santa Cruz, and they had Woody's on the Wharf.
Oh, that's cool.
And it was fantastic. The best part was one of the guys that puts on the event. This is the 26th year that they've done it.
Okay.
One of the guys I've known him since I was back in publishing in my early years. Just a really amazing guy. His name's Dave Wells, and he was an advertising agency. And just, greatest guy in the world. And I lost track of him. And I always, every once in a while I try to dig for him. And his name's fairly common, right? Dave Wells. There's 10,000 Dave Wells.
Right.
And I tried looking for him. I tried to dig him up and try to call him and form all that. And I just couldn't. And he was there. And I hadn't seen him in 25 years. Well, 20 years, actually. And the reason why I could tell you it's 20 years, because when we first had our son, who's 19, we were there with a stroller. And that was the last time I got to see him. And then since then I lost track of him. And I got to see him, and we got to see his car, and it's fantastic. And my girls are all super motivated to buy a Hulk of a car and fix it up with me now.
So these are Woody's the car, not Woody's the drink at Riva Bar and Grill in Tahoe, right?
No. And it's not Woody's the cartoon character on Toy Story, and it's not Woody Woodpecker, but we did see a lot of those out there as well, because
cool vehicles. A side note, there's a vehicle that they came out with 12, 13 years ago for the Ford Flex, which my wife drives, which is kind of shaped like a Woody in a sense, kind of a more modern version. That's what we kind of liked about it. They're really, really cool cars, but the Woodies were, it's hard to beat that look, man. Got the surfboard on top and great looking car. I think didn't have wood paneling or different colors on it, light tan, dark tan, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, they had all the different crazy colors.
Yeah.
Dave has a very unique color on his, which just such a classic green gray mist color. And one of my favorite colors was burgundy. It just kind of makes the whole
Love that
vehicle
color.
pop with the wood on the side panels and everything. Just great.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
anywho, we just spent 5 minutes talking about our weekends. We're supposed to be protecting people.
That's right. That's right.
So-
Well, we have to sharpen our saw too, right? We work hard all week, serving the folks, and we need to sharpen our saw on the weekend a little bit,
Yeah. Yeah. So, I didn't go into a whole lot of detail and creation of all the different scams, but I thought maybe we can each kind of take a quick look at what we have here.
Sure.
And let me see how I can make this so everybody can look at it.
Yeah.
These are just a few of the very, very few different types of scams that you're gonna see when you go buy a house.
Oh yeah.
Everybody's out there to grab not everybody, but there's a lot of people out there to take money out of your pocket. And
Yes.
a lot of it is egregious. And I want to say 3 or 4 years ago, I went to a wire fraud seminar with my title company. I use Cornerstone Title in Los Gatos. Always ask for Charlene Ramos. And they put on this thing where they actually had the DA from the county come in, and her job, one of the DAs, the deputy DAs, and she had like a 2-hour seminar about all the different things that can happen with wire fraud.
Mm-hmm.
What do you do when you're talking to people about that?
I mean, we just warn them, about that is something that has become more prevalent nowadays than ever. It seems like it's easier to do than ever. We almost had a client fall victim to it. I forget how they got out of it. Somehow the title person was able to sense that there was something going on, and we saved their money. It was a couple $100,000 they were wiring.
Right.
But it happens a lot. What I like nowadays, and your title person probably does it, is all the emails have a little blurb, under their auto signature. It talks about wire fraud and the importance of being on the phone and calling and confirming, hey, I'm sending a wire. Hey, I'm receiving, so important. It's too much money to not spend that extra couple minutes of really ensuring that you're protected.
Right. And we have a disclosure about it, and I always have a verbal conversation with everybody. If you hear somebody or you see a text or an email saying, hey, use this account number, that should be like spidey senses going off in the back of your head.
Yeah.
Now, if you're a home buyer, it's not something you're supposed to be thinking about, but this is the reason why we're talking about it today, is because it's so prevalent. It's such a huge thing. And a lot of things that happen are like straw buyers will come in and put in a wire thing. They go from like Africa to some person that doesn't know what's going on in Philadelphia, and then they'll go into like either the title company or something. They'll find out that you're selling your house, and they'll figure out a way to get a hold of you and contact you and say, hey, here's the wire information.
Yeah.
And I know a couple $100,000. I heard one when I was at that seminar was like $750,000. The person lost it.
Unbelievable.
I mean, it just sinks my heart because it's $750,000, right? And they tracked it back to the straw buyer or whoever it was.
Right.
And it's not a straw buyer; it was a straw character, somebody that was just out there being, whatever. But they're in the United States,
right? So
it seemed legit. The wire process seemed legit,
right?
And they pushed the go button, and there's nothing. There's no insurance for it. You're out, right?
Yeah.
So
that fraudster is like, look how easy that was.
Yeah.
Only need to do a couple of those in a lifetime, and I'm done.
Especially if you live like in Africa where people make $200 a year, right? That's
feeding the whole village, man.
Right. Oh, you move to another village.
Yeah. Get to a better village.
Right.
Much better.
With all the bling on the tent.
Yeah, that's right.
I shouldn't say that. So, okay. So that's when you're buying a house, when you're selling a house, make sure if there's ever just even a question of it, call your escrow person, call your lender, call your agent, call your escrow officer, not the phone number that's on the email, right? You
That's
know
right.
your agent's phone number, you know your lender, your loan officer's phone number. Call them and say, hey, is this legit?
Right.
Always double check, right?
That's right. Absolutely.
Yeah. So I've sold many homes. So I'm kind of going to segue here. I've sold many homes, and people always argue about the cost of escrow and title insurance and all this stuff. I'm like, it's there for a reason, to protect you.
It sure
Right?
is. It sure is.
And it's like going through. Here's a great example, right? I have an old iPad 2, which is worth $15 on eBay, right?
Yeah.
And this person said, hey, they pushed the button, said, I'll pay $50, $50 for it. I'm like, okay, I didn't think anything of it. And all of a sudden she started asking me questions like, well, is it in good shape? I'm like, well, it has a crack on the lens over the camera. This, like, can you take a picture? So we're going back. And so I'm starting to talk to them on text, which that's a huge mistake, right? And they go, hey, can I just pay you through PayPal? I'm like, no, I'm going to pay you through eBay. Well, I prefer to pay you through, I don't know, PayPal or whatever, Venmo. Yeah. I go, well, I will pay you, or I will charge you through eBay because they have the protection involved, right? That's right. The same thing in escrow, because what's going to happen is they pay me, and then I send them the iPad, and then they complain to eBay or to PayPal or Venmo or whatever and say, this guy never sent me anything.
Yeah.
I want my money back. Yep. So then I'm out the iPad, which is only worth $15. Right. Who cares? But then I have to pay them $15 to boot. Then I get scammed. And I'm telling everybody about this because it's something that happens all the time. And if you're working with a buyer, and let's say you're a for sale by owner, and you say, I'm not going to do escrow, you're lining yourself up for a huge lawsuit.
Yep.
I know it costs money. Just don't cheap out. You're going to get screwed, or the buyer or seller is going to get screwed.
That's right.
And it'll be murky mud, and it's going to hurt you for years.
Yes. So, no, I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay, enough of that one. Yeah. I feel like I'm a dad talking to my kids.
But super important topic. I mean, geez.
So, and then iBuyers. Now, what's your take on iBuyers?
I honestly have not had a lot of interaction with that at all. So you're probably going to educate me more on it right now than I can educate.
You're coming in another couple bullet points.
Yeah. I honestly, I keep hearing about it. I just don't know enough about it. So I'm going to be an audience member like everyone else right now and let you enlighten us on it.
Right. And, guys, it's not really a scam. It's just something to be aware about. It's just something to be understanding of what potentially could be hurting you or other buyers, right? So what happens is, and it started out with these things called like purple blocks or purple rain. And then Zillow got into the game and they bought $400 million worth of homes. And their pitch is, hey, we're going to buy your house. We'd like to buy your house, and we're going to give you full market value for it. And we're not going to charge you commission. Right. And then here's everything so they give you, so let's say your house is worth $300,000, because there's another story that goes into that. And they go, okay, it's going to be $300,000, no problem, but we have to have somebody go and inspect it. And then they come back and say, oh, well, there's all these extra costs because it's not in repair. And an average house in average condition is worth $300,000. Your house is worth $250,000. So that's one way they can get you. Right?
Got it.
And that's working with wholesale. And we're going to use that same story over and over again. Another thing that they do is say right at close is go, well, here's the cost sheet. It's really 10% of that as a convenience fee or something that they're going to call it. So it's not 6% like an agent would charge you. It's now 10%. And you're already in the motion, right? You're already past contingency period.
Emotional commitment is there already.
Right. And a lot of times they'll be like, oh, you know what? I'm already here. I got it's whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. And I think that's why Zillow got out of that for a few different reasons. But there's a ton of iBuyers out there still to this day. And what they're doing is there's like Vanguard and BlackRock and all these big, huge hedge funds are buying up homes. And $300,000 is about the price range what they're looking for. So anything in the Sun Belt, not above the snow line in America. So if you're looking like in Idaho, it might be there, but not Minnesota, not Wisconsin, but mostly from Arizona to Florida, North Carolina, any homes around $300,000 what they're targeting. And then they come at you at this pitch, like, we're going to buy your house if you're interested in buying your house, and no commission, this and that. And next thing you know, they're buying it for $300,000. And then let's say what happens, the next step of what happens is they buy 10 or 20 houses at $300,000, right? So now they have a neighborhood worth $300,000, and then they go into overdrive and they go to the next 5 buyers, 5 sellers, and buy the houses at $450,000 or $500,000. Mm-hmm. So what does that do to that whole neighborhood? It raises the value of that whole neighborhood from $300,000 to $450,000 to $500,000. That's great for stakeholders, for stockholders, for iBuyers, etc. Mm-hmm. Except what it does is it hurts the buyer.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And last week, go ahead.
I said, sure does.
Yeah. And last week I was talking about how increases in interest rates hurt buyers, but increases in value also hurt buyers because it makes it less substantial for or less available. They qualify for less, right?
Right.
So your home, what you were looking at, you're getting ready to buy a house worth $300,000. Maybe 350 is now worth 500,000. So you're gonna have to buy less house because of these iBuyers.
Correct.
And the seller's like, I don't care, I got mine, that's fine. But they're getting hurt because they go to the next neighborhood or the next state or wherever, and they're getting hit by iBuyers too. And their $400,000 house is now worth $600,000. So they have to pay more because of those iBuyers.
Right.
And there's a number, they're saying it's anywhere between 18 and 20% of homes being sold in the Sun Belt are iBuyers, which are artificially inflating the market.
Jeez.
So it's good for stakeholders, good for stockholders, which is, technically the man, and then the average American gets screwed because the average American makes about $80,000 a year. And that means you can afford about a $300,000 house. Right. And when iBuyers come through, they screw everything over.
Such a fancy name. It's like iPhone, it sounds trustworthy. iBuyers, new program. Yeah. It's terrible. It's just terrible that there's so many people that, are just soulless like that and want to take advantage of people. And it hurts our industry. It hurts homeowners. It hurts new buyers. And home ownership is something that, it's always been said it's the American dream. And, when we got people trying to take advantage of that and hurting others, making it more of a hurdle to get into their first home and causing these kinds of problems, it's just throw the book at these people.
Well, I think they have to definitely curb their appetite a little bit. If I was the hedge fund manager, that definitely would be a huge part of my purchasing thing. But I don't think I'd buy like $400 million worth. I don't know. It's when you're in that mode, you're out there making money and you have to pay for your Coke habit.
Yeah.
Solar lease
scam. Yeah. Talk about that.
So it's not really a scam, guys. I'll tell you this right now. It's, I don't want to say that I was victim to it, but it was more my ignorance. And I have a few videos on this. And basically it's the solar lease program or the PPC or whatever.
Yeah.
It's not a scam. It's truly a good way for your home to lower its burden on
running it.
On running it. Right. And, you have the fossil fuel argument and green and all that stuff. You have 2 options to purchase it, right? You can either lease it or you can pay it cash or finance it.
Right.
And when you purchase it for cash or finance it, you get tax credits to help offset that. When you lease it, you don't get those tax credits. I did not get the tax credits. So
Okay.
basically, I'm paying a solar company to rent the space on my roof. Right? I get a little bit of my monthly electric bill knocked off. That was, I understood that going into it. I was an adult, right? I looked at all the numbers. It totally made sense. And no matter what, whenever you put solar on your home in California, I don't know about other states, there's something called a true up. And a true up is basically PG&E charging you for the privilege of putting electricity back onto the grid and then using it when you need it. So that's somewhere between like $1,000 and $1,200 a year. So it's about, I want to say that. I could be wrong.
Okay.
When you go to sell your house, what the salesperson does, and this is why I felt it was kind of a scam.
Yes.
They'll pitch this idea to you. It doesn't cost you anything. It's only going to be like, $50 to get started because you have to have a contract, and you're going to lower your bills, and it's going to add value to your house. It absolutely will not.
Yep.
If it's leased, it's not yours. You can't add the value to that property. If you buy it or if you finance it, it becomes yours. You own it. You're financing it, and you can pay it off at close when you sell it. And if it's a $30,000 system, you can add $30,000 value into the sales price or the appraisal price.
Yeah.
If it's leaned, you cannot do that. So don't let those salespeople mislabel what they're telling you or understand what you're getting into when that happens. So
yeah, I would have had to figure all that out. I got fortunate with our home. The homeowner I knew was I'd say a friend. We knew them. Our kids went to the same school. He still had about 30,000 left on the lease or what have you, and paid it off for us ahead of time.
Nice.
So,
yeah,
I thought that was great. So didn't have any issues except it not working the first 3 months, and had to wait a year to then go back and get the money back through the solar or through PG&E, who I was getting charged, and that was a nightmare, but we got it back. But it really helps with the bill, and there's just a lot of challenges with solar. Even when we do a refinance for a client, we always have to ask, do you have solar? Because sometimes there's a lien on the property with that solar company, and sometimes they don't want to lift it to redo their loan, and it's just, you got to negotiate with them, and it's a pain. But you do save money with solar, but you got to be careful, like you said, of really understanding it, and be a little leery of how it's being described to you as such a benefit when maybe it's not, maybe it is, but it's
So just be careful, right?
Yeah.
There's ombudsmen, there's people out there that understand the financing and don't trust what they say, because at the end of the day, they're paid on commission, not on showing up and knocking on your door.
Yes. Absolutely.
So, right. I'm not saying that they're all seedy out there. There's a lot of great people out there that sell solar. Just be careful about what you're getting into.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right. Have you heard of the next one?
Yeah, I think I have. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, always be leery if a lender is going to ask. What they'll do is they'll call it a application fee, and that's just in my view, unnecessary. Maybe you're just you don't trust your ability to maintain a lot of clients, and you need to get some revenue coming in at time of application. But the only thing the lender should be asking you for in some cases is just maybe a simple credit report fee, and that's about it. The application process, all that should be outside of the credit, should be totally free. I don't believe in charging people to apply with you. And it does happen out there, though. People don't, especially first-time buyers. They're the ones that are going to be most vulnerable to that. If a company is charging you for an application fee, ask them why. But more importantly, after you get your answer, find another lender that's not. Find a referred lender. Most loan officers that are getting referred to you are not going to be charging that application fee, and it's upwards of $500 to $1,000 sometimes. And It's just a way for them to get some revenue for the work that they're going to do initially in case you decide not to work with them. And it's not necessary.
Yeah. And some would say it's unethical and maybe bordering on legality, right?
Correct. Correct.
When we were, go ahead.
Yeah, it's not even, I don't even think it's legal anymore to do it, to be honest with you, in most cases.
Right.
So,
because during the days of the loan mods and short sales in our bank-owned properties, when people were losing their houses, there were companies out there and lawyers were being put on a blacklist for charging up front. And what they found, especially in California, was it's against the state constitution. It's illegal and immoral to collect a fee up front for offering a service without providing without providing service up front. So
That's
you
right.
had to do the service and then get paid at the back end.
Yeah.
And loan mods were huge, and it killed the careers of many, many lawyers.
Yeah. The one place I can think of right now that doesn't provide the service until you pay is you ever go through a drive-through and they're standing there holding your bag and they won't hand it to you until you give them the credit card first.
Yeah.
Then they hand you the food, right? They're all trained to do that, so you don't drive off with the food.
It kind of makes sense, right? I mean,
yeah, because that's an industry that's gonna, you get people that are gonna be a little squirrely there going through the drive-through. So
yeah.
But yeah, run from someone trying to charge you up front. Shouldn't happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you ever run into the next one?
Yeah, that is a big one. There's all kinds of laws against that. Unfortunately, there's a lot of people that will do advertising, which has some requirements that come along with it. And then if it's not there, they're illegally advertising. And they're going to get probably fined if it's determined to be so. And that means not disclosing the APR. There's certain verbiage that has to be on any kind of advertising that takes place. And what happens is big companies will advertise what they think clients want to see, which is low rates, right? Who doesn't want to see a low rate? So oftentimes I'm having to explain to clients, why that rate is so low. Well, did you and hopefully there's fine print. I said, did you look at the fine print? It says two discount points down there or something to that nature. But the ad has to do its job, which is get eyeballs and an elevated excitement so that you'll maybe take action, right? And we talked about that earlier. You got to get the phone call. You got to get the emotional buy-in, right? And then let the salesperson get the process going and then explain often what will happen is they'll explain to them after. Oh, by the way, this is why it's so low, if at all. Or, oh, you don't qualify for that. Now we've run your credit. Or, oh, you don't have enough down payment for that. Or
reserves.
You're self-employed. Or you don't have enough reserves. But when you're dealing with a cold marketing environment, they have to pull out all the stops to get the hook into you, to get a live person on the phone with you, to then hope to close that loan with you and get you so far along that you're like the other person. You throw up your hand and say, well, I just got to get this over with. I'm too far in now. And rates have gone up anyway or whatever. But yeah, the old saying, if it sounds too good to be true, it often is.
And then when it's too late, you're already in contract or you're already in the process. And before you know it, it's too late. You can't really pull out, right?
One good thing, the other part of that is the erroneous fees. That's really been curtailed with all the changes after 2009 with the CFPB and everything. Once you disclose your fees to customers, this is the safest environment to get a mortgage that we've ever seen. I mean, if fees change afterwards, for whatever reason, after a lender's disclosed to you the fees that you've agreed to, the lender's on the hook to pay the overage, not you. Used to be in the old days, so the surprise would come in, and it wasn't always done purposefully. Sometimes things just change, or there was a mistake or whatever, and the customer would have to pay more. That was back when they, the hidden fees and everything. But yeah, it really can't happen now. It's on the lender to be very accurate now at time of disclosing for most of the line items. So you can feel pretty safe that what you initially see is going to be the same or better.
Right.
Yeah.
And there are those out there that charge still, high high
Yes.
appraisal? Like what's the standard appraisal cost now?
Boy, they've really gone up.
Yeah.
I'd say on average, it depends on where you are, right? Out here in California, I'm seeing an average in the 750 to 850 range now, which is insane to me because, we were back in the days where they were 275 to 350.
Right.
And when the AMCs, the appraisal management companies, for those listening out there, that's the, what the government did to help kind of create a layer between lender and appraiser. So there's not so much collaboration, potentially increasing values just to meet the lender's goals or whatever. So these middlemen have actually caused the prices to kind of go up. And during the pandemic, I saw the prices start to rise, and maybe you did as well when you were reviewing net sheets with your clients. But it was not unheard of to see during the pandemic. I sometimes saw appraisers trying to charge over $2,000. That's not the case right now. Volume's down, they're getting back normalized. But yeah, somewhere between 650 to 850 in that range. And a lot of it depends on the property, its location, the availability and ease of the appraiser to try to find comparables. How much work do they feel they have to do? And that's where some of that variation will come in.
Right. Back during the pandemic, when it was the great refi boom, right?
Yeah.
It was hard to find enough appraisers because there were more refis happening than ever before.
Yeah.
Volume of home purchases were going up.
Yeah.
And all the crappy appraisers came out of the woodworks, or all the inexperienced appraisers came out of the woodworks. And because there was so much demand for appraisals and not enough appraisers to do it, they were getting hammered and bombarded. And they were like, yeah, if you want me to get this done, it's either going to be 2 weeks or you can pay me a rush charge.
Yes.
Right.
That's right.
And now I get it. But, back when we had the toilet paper issue, people were hoarding it and then selling it on eBay for like 5 times the cost. And the FBI came out. That's not legal. You're taking advantage of the situation, and you could get in trouble. And that's what happened. Is a lot of the more inexperienced appraisers screwed people over.
Yes, that is the case oftentimes.
Yeah. So this general tax rate. So I always tell people it's about 1.25%, and it really depends on where you live. There could be Melrose taxes. There could be higher cost for roads, higher cost for whatever, higher assessments and whatever. About 1.25%, right? In California, Santa Clara, for example, is only 0.79, and then the difference is made up by those separate assessments. So you can get it down to 1%. You can get it all the way up to 1.3%, depending.
Yeah.
When it goes to qualifying for a loan, though, you have to know specifically what those little areas are, right?
Yeah, and I just found most areas in the state use 1.25%. There's a few areas that don't. Off the top of my head, I'm trying to think. The last one that wasn't, I believe, don't quote me on this, but it might have been Mountain House, was a little different, which is just a little west of Tracy, and east of Livermore. They were a different number. I can't remember what it was, but most of the time it winds up being about that 1.25%, which makes it pretty easy. And I always have to explain to clients why, especially if they have an impound account, why initially they think they're getting a break when they see that their payment right out of the chute is less than what I had shown them, what I had to use to qualify them for. And I say, the lender's going to have a little catch-up tax waiting for you. You came in with the prorations at the seller's tax rate, which is probably less than yours. You're also making initial payments that's less than what yours should be. So rely on my numbers for what it's going to be. But problem is, we know the assessment is sometimes up to 9 months after they close. Mm-hmm. So I always say, get a recurring thing on your phone that pops up every month that says, my supplemental tax bill's coming. My supplemental tax bill's coming. So you keep remembering that it's the catch-up tax, right? You're not going to pay more than you're supposed to. but they got to get back what they didn't collect, rightfully so, based on how our system works during the escrow process.
Right.
And be prepared for it to normalize.
That's a huge one. We have a disclosure that we're supposed to use, and I use it all the time. I always have that conversation, but when you go to the closing table, everybody's like, and you have 10,000 signatures and a stack of papers this thick, and
everyone's chit-chatting away to get through it.
It's easy to not to totally gloss over. And I had a lady who didn't realize this, even though she had bought a house before. Like it's a normal thing, and we took care of it, but it was something you just have to be aware of, right?
No, you do. And sometimes you'll get somebody that's been a homeowner for 30 years, but the problem is they've been a homeowner for 30 years. And when you buy a new home, the home buying process is a little different than just the refinance process, right?
Right.
And that's where you gotta go, wait, let me just get back to the basics and explain this process and not assume they remember all this. And that's the biggest, aha for them, is that whole supplemental tax bill. That's the one that gets them if they haven't bought a home, in a recent time frame.
Yeah. And it's our job to remind them, but it's also your job, because you're an adult. When you're buying a house, you should know everything. I actually have a home buyers course. It's all online.
Yeah, I saw that. It's pretty cool. You had it on some education site or whatever that you can implement. That's cool.
Yeah, and it's just really quick. It's down and dirty, and it kind of gives you all the main details of what you're going to expect through the entire process, because there's 10,000 different things that go on.
Oh yeah.
Right. And we're covering most of it, and we're going to take care of it, but you have to be involved. You have to say yes or no, or here you go, or what have you. You have to be involved. We're running the show, right? Like when I'm working with you, I'm working with the buyer up until we get in the contract. And once we're in contract, then I let go, and you grab the wheels and you start driving that bus, right? And I'm just in the background saying, how's everything going? Do I need to do anything? And you're like, here you go. You need to go do this, right? And then and that's really a true partnership between buyer and lender. Yeah,
it's like a quarterback and a receiver, right? I'm running the pattern. You're tossing the ball, but we score, we win together. The client gets the touchdown. I like to use analogies a lot with clients, because I think visualization helps them a lot. And so I think that when you are just really forthright and honest about the process, their guard comes down and they can trust you more. I say, listen, there's a lot in this process you're not going to understand.
Yep.
It's actually easy though, but you don't know it yet, right? I said, if you took me, Mr. Engineer, Mrs. Engineer, to your job and sat me down and said, start coding, you know what my brain would do? It would explode. And you'd go, oh, Scott, it's easy. You've been doing it your whole life. No, it's not easy. I have no clue where to even begin. I say, well, now you understand. It's easy for me. That's why you hired me. That's why we're going to make it simple and smooth, because we do it every day of our lives.
Right.
It just seems complicated to you because you don't do it every day of your life.
Right.
And then they get it, because you brought it real to them. They sat you down at their work. Now you're sitting them down at your work,
Right. However, I would tell you not in a million years. Well, I could probably figure it out in a million years, probably even 100 years. But if you put me in front of a computer and tell me to hack and code, it would be a lot more difficult than if we showed you how to buy a house and go through the whole process.
Right? Probably.
Yeah.
Probably. And it's funny, because oftentimes after I'm done educating clients and getting them all ready to go, I say, hey, man, you can put me out of work now. You can take my job. I taught you everything in my brain about the process, know?
Yep.
And but getting the customer to that point just eases all the tension. Hey, I wish I had more to share with you. I don't. It's that easy.
Yep. There's nothing left to do. You're done.
Yep.
All right. So the next one, foreclosure relief. We're at 40 minutes now. I know we've been talking. So foreclosure relief, it's all in one. And I know I talked about it up in the beginning. Foreclosure, like if you're going into an issue where you have to short sell your house, or you're going to the bank and you're saying, I can't afford payments. This is important now, because we're going to start seeing that number pop up, right?
Mm-hmm.
Loan modifications was a big one. We talked about lawyers losing their license, being blacklisted, right? This is the same thing. You can't you can't, you shouldn't pay for a service ahead of time, especially when it comes to something like this, because the state, California especially, has mandated that you cannot collect a fee for service up front for these types of things, because you're already in arrears for your mortgage, or you're having trouble making your mortgage payment, or what have you. Just be very, very careful. If somebody's asking you for a fee for application, for anything, for any kind of service up front, walk away, go talk to another lawyer, talk to one of us, and we'll put you in touch with the right people.
I'm just going to say that and you probably remember this when these started popping up in 2009.
Mm-hmm.
Boy, everybody was advertising that they did these. I mean, realtors were advertising they do them. Lenders were advertising that they do them. They were charging upfront fees and all kinds of stuff. And some of these people that were getting involved in this just saw the opportunity to make money off clients going through, you know, something extremely difficult. And these people were, in my opinion, many of them weren't prepared to be able to give the advice and education that was needed through the process. And that's why a lot of them charged up front. And
right.
I get it, you know, you want to get paid for a service, but they were charging exorbitant amounts of fees, and sometimes the client got nothing out of it.
Right.
Sometimes the service provider went away after the first week or two and
disappeared, ghosted. They took their $750, $800 and so did your money.
Yeah. So talk to your real estate agent, your lender that you trust, whomever that is, and say, I'm really struggling right now. What options do I have to keep my home, first of all? And who can I talk to about that? And if I have to go another direction, please put me in contact with someone really, really trustworthy who may not know how to do this, but may know someone that does. But start with a trusted advisor to get pointed in the right direction.
Nowadays we have Home Path and home advisors within our MLS that lead us to Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac.
Yep.
And there's processes in place to help put people at ease if it's a loan modification or what have you. When it was short sales was such a game that banks played. It was so freaking painful. They would have you mail in or fax back, because you still had to fax back then. Fax a thick set of documents, right? And you would send it, and you'd even get a receipt saying that it was sent and it was received.
I know what you're going to say next.
You followed up the next day or the day before, and they're like, "Nope, we don't have it." The date, and their process was,
we lost it, or
we lost it. We can't find it, or you need to resubmit it because the time's gone through so far. And the game was also that the day you sent it in, you'd have to wait 10 to 14 days before you could follow up.
Yeah.
And it was like, and then every day you'd follow up and say, "Hey, what's going on?" And they'd play these stupid games. It was like to their advantage for them to take the house back. So they're and all the banks did it. I'm not saying, Wells Fargo was worse or actually they were pretty actually good, but all the banks were in the same game where you would send in this application for your clients. And what I learned was there was actually a service out there that didn't charge you anything. They took money from me, right? Instead of charging you 6%, instead of charging you 3%, because you get the 3% to the other buyer, to the buyer's agent, I would give 1% to this company to take care of this. And it worked. They worked so amazingly well. It was done in like 3 weeks. I never heard anything. They're like, "Hey, guess what? You're ready to go. You're approved. Here you go. Here's my little fee sheet." And I do it. And yes, I lost money, but at the same time, my sellers were done and everybody was happy.
Yeah.
So
wait, should be, but you're right. They were waiting it out, hoping you would finally give up. They'd rather take back the home, put it in their inventory. They could rent it out, keep generating income, wait for the market to come back, sell it, at a higher price down the road. And they would just basically, it's like your big brother holding you down and then just poking your chest like this,
give up.
Yeah. Until you would give up and go, I can't take it anymore. Take the house. I'm too frustrated. I've lost 2 buyers that I had because they got tired of waiting the 3 or 4 months for the paperwork to go through. Take the house, is what wound up people doing, who actually wanted to short sale and preserve their credit to some degree versus going through a foreclosure and being locked out of homes for, home purchases for up to 7 years,
Right. It was just horrible what they did. But I understand. It's a business, right?
And to be honest, there were people that just wanted to get out of their properties because they were upside down that could have afforded it. And the banks knew that too as well. People, it was both sides. There were a lot of issues.
A lot of people were playing games, right? What I wish I had then was a whole lot of money so I could buy all those foreclosures.
I know, right?
So, I've been waiting for years for this to happen again. I don't think it's going to be as bad, but I have no idea.
Yeah.
I have no idea.
Yeah.
So the next one, fake listings and rental scams on Craigslist, on all these other places. Y'all have to, and I'm sure you've heard of it before, and actually when you go to Craigslist and you're looking around, I haven't done it in a couple of years, there's actually a warning saying if you're going to rent a house through Craigslist, you're on your own. You have to do your own due diligence. What happens is somebody will find a vacant house and then they'll figure out how to get into it. And then they'll let you into the house and take a check from you as a deposit and accept your application. And then you move in, and then the seller, the actual owner, will come in and say, "What the hell are you doing in my house?"
Jeez. Unbelievable.
Happens all the time. And the same thing with fake listings. Like, we'll sell you this house, no problem. Come in, take a look, and then you send the money off to this no escrow company, which is up above.
Right.
And next thing you know, you're out $30,000-$40,000, and they're sipping Mai Tais on a beach somewhere, right?
And that typically works best if it's going to be like an all cash deal, because you don't have the lender requiring inspections or different things about the property, get it appraised or whatever. And you think, oh, I'll come in with all cash, avoid real estate agents, avoid lender, challenges, get a good deal, and then you realize, boy, this is not a good deal at all. I got taken.
Yep. There's so many different scams out there. Y'all have to be. I mean, that's the reason why the MLS is so strong, and that's why.
That's right.
It's tempting to for sale by owner, and it's tempting to say you guys are a ripoff. I understand that because it's a lot of money, but we provide a lot of service, and we make sure that there's very little issues. And there's always going to be issues, but we've done it for so long, we know how to, mitigate or walk around them and navigate around them. So,
That's right.
Have you heard about the bait and switch movers?
Bait and switch movers. I have not heard of that one. Tell me about this one. Yeah.
So I helped a family buy a house on Choctaw, just down the street, a couple of years ago. And the sellers were moving to, say, Indianapolis. And we were doing our final walkthrough because that's part of our process. 3 days before we close, after you sign docs, we go through and do a final walkthrough before the sellers move out, before we consummate the entire closing to make sure that there's still cabinets, etc., what have you. And the sellers were there, and they were amazing people. I loved them. They were amazing people. And we were talking and looking at the house and looking at all these different things. And the lady goes, and we got this mover, and it was only $7,500 to go move our entire house to Indianapolis. I'm like, that doesn't sound right.
Yeah.
But okay, good for you, right? And she's not my client, so I can't really talk to her about certain things. So I went to the agent. I said, hey, you might want to talk to them about the scam
company they've engaged. Yeah.
Right. Stopped right there. And wouldn't you know it, the day they were moving out, the movers didn't show up. They took the money, they took the $7,500, right? And the movers didn't show up on that Saturday. So all of a sudden I get a call saying, hey, the movers didn't show up. They're going to show up tomorrow. So I had to tell my buyers to move their move date out an extra day because, what are you going to do?
Oh my gosh.
So Sunday rolls around, the movers show up and go, it's going to be another $7,500. If you want us to move, you're going to pay us like 14, 15 grand altogether.
And how did you ever get an answer on how they justified that?
That was called highway robbery. It's illegal, but
no, I know.
So
they were now in desperate and dire straits.
What are you going to do, right? Yeah. What are you going to do? It's going to be $14,000, right? And and the kicker was they coughed up the money, and then the movers disappeared for months.
I thought you were going to tell me that the movers showed up the first day, loaded all their stuff, drove off with it, and put it all up on eBay. That's
well, what happens is that's another thing is they'll hold your stuff ransom. They'll take it and send it off to some unknown location in like Utah or something. I don't know, wherever. And they'll be like, oh yeah, if you want it, it's going to cost you another $20,000 or something like that. And that's illegal. That's actually a massive felony.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And special place for these people waiting one day. You know.
The problem with the moving industry is it's not regulated. There's licensure, but there's no backup. There's no teeth.
Yeah.
And I always tell people, I know it's going to hurt, but go with the Allied, United, the big franchise companies, because they're not going to screw you. They're going to hurt you. It's going to be painful, but that's the cost of moving, right?
Yeah. You don't do it that often. What's another $1,000 to have peace of mind with a reputable company?
And you know you're going to get there on time within a few hours, right?
And they're probably going to own up to any damages, anything that happens. You're not going to have a big issue, you know?
Right. And I mean, I have a list of movers, but I always say, I do not recommend any of these. What we tell you to do is rent or use a franchise company because they're not going to screw you over. And it's going to be painful. And I tell everybody this too. It's like, when and if we ever move, none of this is coming with me.
Yeah.
I'm going to give it away, sell it, or burn it in my park in a big bonfire.
Yeah, I'll tell you, when we bought this house, the seller, you know, like we knew him, but I bought his 400-pound gun safe. You know, I got his kitchen table. He left the TV. Didn't want to take the mount down. A couple of those. Left his sauna upstairs in the bathroom. I've never even used it. It's been here a year and a half. You don't even know how to turn it on. But I said, yeah, keep that. I'll probably use it. Yeah, I haven't used it.
Yeah, I have a house coming up for sale, and they don't want to move a hot tub. Nobody wants a hot.
Same thing. Same thing. Left the hot tub. Yeah.
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 My sister-in-law in Alabama just said incorrect listing details, like it's sewer when it's really septic or electric heat when it's gas.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if that's a scam. I think that's just ignorance of the you know. There's a lot of the problem with real estate. It's not so much on lending side, but the problem with real estate is a low barrier to entry.
Yeah.
Right. It's 3 classes and a test you have to get a C on. To be able to sell houses. And I've maintained that this should be a master's level degree to be able to perform real estate.
I agree 100%. And lending at least advanced a little bit, you know, after 2009 and, you know, with the NMLS and everything, it's a little bit tougher than the basic DRE test that we take, Department of Real Estate. So, but, you know, some people are good at memorizing and get into our industry that, you know, are a little squirrely. You got to be careful.
Yep.
But not near as much as, you know, the guy that was selling cars in, you know, 2005 and heard about this real estate boom happening back then and got in and didn't even know how to fill out a loan application. And, you know, was just charging an exorbitant amount of money to clients that, you know, shouldn't have been doing. But a lot of that got weeded out. But I agree with you. I think more education should be needed. The barrier of entry is too low in both of our industries.
Yeah. Again, it's greed at the top. They let anybody in. And I've made this very well known all across is that you need to make this much more difficult. I mean, as a broker, we have to take more classes, but I don't care. Make it a master's level degree. I mean, when you're practicing law, you have to have a JD, right?
Yes.
Practicing medicine, that's, I know you have to have a doctorate, but at least a master's level, because you're dealing with millions of dollars of revenue of other people's money. And
That's right.
you should make it a pound of flesh if you do something wrong.
That's right. That's right.
And if you do something wrong on fraudulently on purpose, right? I do stuff, I make mistakes, but I own up to them because I'm an adult, right? I pay for it if I make a mistake.
That's right.
So anyway,
yeah,
off my high horse. We buy homes for cash. Now, you know what I'm talking about? Those yellow signs. All everywhere, you see them everywhere. We'll buy your house for cash. Those guys, and again, I don't think this is a scam. This is a tried and true process for people that just don't want to deal with putting their house on the market, but understand that these guys are wholesalers.
Yeah.
So their job is to buy your house at 60% of value. Mm-hmm. And then turn around and sell it to an actual investor for 65 cents on the dollar.
That's right.
And that's how they're called bird dogs, right? And what they do is they go out and they find a great deal and they get into contract, and then they assign that contract to an investor who will flip it or buy it and hold it, etc. But don't let them think that you're going to sell that house at 70 or 80 or 90%. It's going to be closer to 60%.
That's right.
Of value.
Absolutely. I mean, it's almost worth, even if you're not going to work with an agent, talk to your friends, talk to your family. Maybe they have an agent that will give you 10 minutes of time on the phone, just to have a conversation, and get an idea what your home's value is. You know, just do a little research on your own. Right. I mean, it's going to be a very expensive mistake to just say, you know what, I'm throwing my hands up. The first, sign I see, I'm going to call that person. Yeah, they seem trustworthy. Yeah, that sounds like a fair deal for my home. And I don't have to deal with people coming through my home, and I don't have to do any repairs. I'm telling you, they're going to skin you alive.
Yep.
Or they wouldn't be making that offer to you. So your home's worth a lot more than that. Take that offer and go, my home's worth at least 30% more than that, most likely.
Right.
And, I always say, consider using an agent, no matter what. The liability they take away from you, the money you're going to earn by using a real estate agent, the headaches that are going to solve for you. You can't put a price tag on it. It's worth it.
Yep. I agree that it's very tempting to sell your house on your own. I mean, I'm a DIYer. I do everything except for the fact that I have a contractor up in my bathroom right now.
Yeah. Well, I got an AC guy coming at 5:30. I had no AC for 4 days.
You hire the people for the right thing, and you know what? He's not cheap, but he's good. He does his job, and he does a really amazing job. So I'm willing to pay that money. It's the same thing for real estate. Same thing with your mechanic, right? It's like the difference between buying a Woody or an old Hulk of a car. We're probably going to buy like a VW bus, right? Because that's what one of the girls want. And then fixing it up ourselves. I'm not going to go and do any transmission work or carburetor work. That's like way over my head.
Oh yeah.
But I know the guys that could do it, and it's going to cost me a pretty penny, and it's worth it because that's you want to make sure that the car is going to run right.
Yeah, it's how the economy works. It keeps you serving clients too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? And then it's just how the economy works. I just tell people, I can't say don't watch your money because you need to do that. But, we've all seen the clients that are just, let's just call it what it is, overly cheap. And
guilty.
Yeah. I just remember, I understand we all want to save a buck, but once in a while, if you got a service person that's just taking awesome care of you and you trust them and they are just greasing the skids for you and everything is smooth and simple, don't work them. Don't work him or her down. Let them earn that money. It's called value. It's called value. You're getting value. This person's always going to be there when you need them again after this. They'll come out and fix the problem again, maybe even for free or whatever, because it didn't, it didn't work, as long as it needed to or what have you. But I mean, there's value with paying for outstanding professional service sometimes. And sometimes you're going to see that you get what you pay for when you go too cheap. And then it winds up being more than if you had just paid the really good professional. And there's a reason why they're earning that money. They're getting the job done and doing it great, and you can rely on them. And I think sometimes that's important, especially with these kind of contractors that you develop relationships with, that you trust. This guy called yesterday on a Sunday. I texted him. I said, hey, I got your name from a family friend. You do not have to get back to me today. It's Sunday. I just want to get ahead of the game on Monday morning and get ahead of all those Monday people that are going to be calling you. Well, he texts me back 10 minutes later. No problem. What's your problem? Hey, I'll be there tomorrow, 5:30. I'm like, really? With all this heat and all the jobs you got out there? He goes, no problem. You got referred in. I want to come take care of you. I'm like, awesome, man. So one day, last time broke last year, had to wait a week. Every company was just not taking on new business. This guy, one day, family friend.
The funny thing about that, and this is what kills me, right? And it's the same thing with when mine goes out. I call my guy. It costs me $250, $300 for him to come out and fix it, and it's a $5 part. But you know what? I don't know how to fix it. I know it takes him 5 minutes to do it. It's going to take him 5 minutes to figure out what the problem is. I go, and he knows exactly what the problem is. And that's what you're paying him for.
And is it really that expensive? I mean, our clients are hiring us to help them with what they don't understand how to do. They could do it themselves.
Yeah.
I mean, be near the same. Probably a little money, but
you can go online. I can teach you everything on YouTube on how to sell a house, but there's the liability and all, accessing the forms and knowing how to dodge issues and how to negotiate. And
how many years you've been doing this? Like, you're like me, right? 25 years? Something
19.
Like that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, all that experience. Are you kidding me? It's invaluable. You could do it in your sleep, blindfolded upside down.
Yeah. Well, and
that's what the clients need.
It's like case in point, when we had that counter come back over the weekend and they tried to pull a fast one, the last counter to come back, and they're like, oh, and by the way, you get to pay for another month rent for my seller. And we're like, pound sand.
Yeah. Like they have the upper hand, and a weaker agent might just go, well, I want to get paid. So client, I think you should just accept this.
Right.
And you're saying no.
I was like, let's walk away from this entire deal.
Yeah.
Screw this.
That's integrity. You showed integrity there for your client. Your client can still come back and say, I just want the property veto. But you're telling them, no, let's walk away from it. And you can overrule me, client, but I think that's what you should do.
Right.
Because let's face it, that seller's going to come back again, aren't they?
They are. And you know what I'm going to tell them is going to be $10,000 less because you wasted our time.
That's right. And rates have gone up, and home values might have softened. Who knows? But you're right.
I mean, they're playing the wrong game at the wrong time, and they think they have the upper hand. And there's many more houses that we're going to go look at. Yeah. So they screwed themselves.
That's right.
Well, dude, we're like 3 minutes over because it's always awesome to talk to you.
Well, let's finish real quick. Upfront fees. You want to do your side first, or go ahead from the real estate perspective?
Actually, I think it was the same thing with the the foreclosure relief and the lenders, etc. Anything that you want to add?
No, just outside of things like credit check or maybe some work that needs to be done, which isn't really a fee, but you might instruct your client that there's some work they need to do, right? You can kind of consider that fees in a sense, but really it's built into the increase in value you're going to get by improving your home. But outside of that, no. If there's someone saying, hey, for my service right now, before I do anything for you, I need to secure revenue from you, walk away from that.
Right.
It's not necessary.
Even when you're working with like a licensed contractor, like this guy didn't ask for a penny yet, right? Yeah. He's allowed to ask for 10 or 15 or 5. I'm not even sure what the legal thing is. As a licensed contractor in California, can only ask you for 10% down, whatever that number is, for materials, to buy materials, to get started. Mm-hmm. And then there's milestone payments that can happen because he obviously has to pay people, etc.
Yeah.
But the wiser contractors these days are actually using lending companies that will finance the entire remodel or whatever and funnel it through them. So they're going to be insured to get paid no matter what.
That's right.
But again, be very aware. And if there's ever a question of somebody asking you for a fee up front, give one of us a call.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Because
Totally agree. That's absolutely the best advice in that situation. Because you will run across those people.
Fee sheets. So let's say you're like, Scott, you're so full of crap. I'm going to go to Bank of America. I'm going to go to some, guy across, in Nevada, and I'm going to apply with him. They're supposed to send you a fee sheet, right? For loans, for a loan, correct? What you should do always is send it to somebody you could trust, like Scott, and say, hey, can you check these out? Make sure that I'm not getting pummeled somewhere.
Yeah. I mean, if you're going to work with somebody and you trust them a ton, I mean, we could do a whole nother video on all the things you should be asking the lender ahead of time if they're right to work with them, because it's not always the lowest fee sheet you see. But if you are far in and you're really wondering, something just doesn't feel right here, or there's nothing wrong with getting a second opinion, have someone look it over that knows what they're doing. Absolutely. Yeah. Careful with the banks. They don't do a whole lot for you. I'll just tell you that right now. And I think, Vito, you know that when it goes into writing offers and availability and communication, boy, I'll tell you what, they dropped the ball there.
Closing on time.
Yeah. I just, I look at the bank process, and then, I go opposite of that. I go 180 degrees from that. Shouldn't be that way, but they're just big corporations, they're doing stocks, they're doing checking and savings. We just hired Joe Schmo. We just put a lending handbook, and they're in the cubicle in the back corner. Why don't you go talk to them, Mr. Checking and Savings client? And you're nobody to them. You really are. You got to understand, this is the biggest investment in your life, buying a home, and it needs to be done properly. So if you're going to think, hey, I'm going to go to my bank, great, go interview your bank, but go interview a really professional loan broker that is a mortgage banker or a mortgage broker as well, because that's all they do. That's all we do. And the good ones do it really well. And usually the first time buyers don't understand all that's involved in the process to make it easy, simple, even fun, but also be your partner in property acquisition. And that's writing offers. It's a big deal for the lender to be involved in that process.
I think we have to talk a little bit more about that entire process, because what I'm telling people in multiple videos right now in all my communication is be prepared. And step one of being prepared is having a conversation with Scott and having your finances in your pocket, understanding what you should be looking for finance wise, because after that's done, then we can go and shop for houses or what have you, land or property or what have you, come up with a process or a plan and a strategy to get you to the next level, because the next 2-3 years is going to be where a lot more wealth is transferred.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct about that.
It all starts with Scott.
Yeah. Hey, this was fun, man. This was good.
Yep, absolutely.
Hopefully, our audience out there got some great information of what to be aware of here. That was it's a great list you have there, and I think we covered it from like Amazon A to Z.
I feel like we're two parents talking to a kid what not to do when you go outside and drive and text and don't drink and drive. But at least we're getting this out there, and I'm going to have these chopped up into little segments so that it's a little more bite size, more maybe like TikTok minute,
great idea.
Minute and a half ideas.
Great idea. Well, it's Monday. I'm sure got a lot on the schedule. Let's hit it hard and take great care of people this week, huh?
Yep. When do rates go up next week or this next week?
I'm not sure the exact day. They just keep going up like crazy. I'm just pricing out HELOCs, and we're at what is it now, like 4.75, I think, on the Fed funds rate, and we were 3.25 just weeks ago. months ago. This is important, guys. In general, just great advice. Maintain your credit scores. Everything is based on your credit scores. Okay, especially with HELOCs. You know, a HELOC is going to be priced out based on the loan size, the equity position you're leaving left over for the lender, and your credit score. And with rates rising, credit's super, super important. So you always should do a checkup on your credit and see how you're doing. And even go on the internet and just learn how to get your debt paid down and how those algorithms work. And don't close credit cards, right? Keep them open, or you're closing off the history. That's another video. We'll get into that another time. But credit scores are really important in a rate in rising environment to save every dollar you can.
Absolutely. But understand that don't be afraid of the rate right now. It's going to suck for the next couple of years, but the rates are going to come down.
Absolutely. And acquiring real estate is still going to be the #1 thing you can do for your future. You only get one shot at buying that property, but you can always redo your loan again. Who cares what the rates are? As long as you qualify, they'll come down.
Yep. We're looking at commercial purchases all over the place. So, you know, we're prepared, getting there.
Awesome.
All
right, my friend. Awesome hanging with you. Have a great week. All right.
Great seeing you. I'll talk to you later.
Talk to you later. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.